Yo, what's going on, everybody? This is Corey Ether, and this is the On the Speaker Show. Got a special guest today, finally.
Yes.
Sycosis.
Yes, Sycosis. We almost cool enough, man. Thank you for inviting me out.
Well, this is our second go around, man.
Yeah,
Last
absolutely.
time we talked, you had mostly Me Too out, right?
Exactly.
And now, about what, a little over a year later?
Yeah, it's been about 18 months.
It's been how long?
Yeah, it's been about 18 months.
Year and a half.
Yeah.
Almost cool enough.
Absolutely. Almost Cool Enough is out right now.
So let's go back to the beginning here for people that may not know you. So where are you actually from?
I'm from the south side of everywhere.
South
That's our saying. I'm from the south side of Chicago.
Right.
Born and raised in the city. I actually grew up in the south suburbs, Riverdale, Harvey. I went to Thornton High School. Shout out to the Wildcats. 3C lunch. That was Gladiator School.
Facts.
So I had to rap 3 times a day. So when people say they rap, I'm like, we not the same.
So
we had to battle on the bus, at lunch, and on the way home.
See, now let's get down because you know when it comes to rapping, man, we have a lot of conversations, and I won't say like a lot of conversations, but we have very interesting topics that we kind of go back and forth about, right?
Absolutely.
Even when it comes to music and artistry and things of that nature. So as far as you rapping, you said you used to rap 3 times a day type situation. So how long have you been rapping though? For the people that may not know.
I started in 6th grade. That would have been 1996.
Okay.
So I've been rapping for a long time. I'm an OG now, apparently, or whatever that is.
Keep hearing that, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm cool with that though. I actually feel good about it because I think normally by now I just turned 35. So normally by now a person is a good 5 to 10 years removed from anybody caring that they make music.
Right.
My trajectory is actually the opposite.
Right.
Most people in their mid-30s are on a decline. I'm actually the opposite. All of my streams, my
everything's going up.
Fan base, my listenership is
verified
actually,
on Spotify.
Yeah, in a few other places, man. But I'm verified with myself, most importantly. You know, like I'm more sure of who I am now, and I feel good about where this music is coming from. But it's bigger than that.
You're now tuned into Ether on the speaker.
It's funny. We were talking about that before the camera started rolling. Just when it came to what's the word I'm looking for? We look for validation from people that we look at these different platforms, right?
Right.
And we're like, if they say we're cool, does that mean we're cool? If they say we're, if you're not cool, does that mean you're not cool?
Exactly.
I mean, and that brings me to your title of your most recent album.
Absolutely.
Almost Cool Enough, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'll talk about that a bit, and then I'd also like for you to talk about some of the platforms as well, as far as like how you used to feel as opposed to how you feel now, because you said that, as far as you being an OG, you feel like you're becoming greater than what you were, like, because a lot of times you said that they're going on like a downward spiral or decline in a sense. I think it's the word you use. So from Almost Cool Enough into some of the platforms, like how did you used to feel and how do you feel now?
Well, going back to what I said earlier, like I was pretty quiet as a kid. And I tell this story, it's in all of my bios, it's a true story. I actually went to church not far from where we are now on the west side of Chicago, and I would leave church and I would go to my aunt's house, Aunt Pat, rest in peace. But my 2 cousins who were there, they were significantly older than me, and so I'm young, 12, 11, and I got 2 cousins in their mid-20s who, like, they're the OGs to me, they're the big homies to me. And they were both really off into hip hop, really deep into hip hop. So, but they were very different. My cousin Boo, he was into the underground, what we would consider gangster rap area of Chicago, from Triple Darkness to Snipers, Psychodrama. He was into that type of hip hop. Where my other cousin Skeet, he turned on some KRS-One or some EPMD or some Public Enemy.
See, you can't go too fast past these artists, man, because they're actually talking about actual lyricism and different stuff like that.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
No, I was just about to say, like, so for those watching, listening, who know who both of those groups of people are. Because if you didn't, here's your chance. You could read up on Chicago hip hop. It started way before Do or Die Twisted did Do You Want to Ride, which is where most people got introduced. But that era was, again,
I call
middle school.
that like a golden era. And it's funny you mentioned that. You said in sixth grade, which was 96.
96.
And it's funny, Twister just came out with an album
Yeah.
called Summer of 96, right?
Yeah, so 96 was the year I started. And the reason why that was such a huge year, that was the year Do You Want to Ride became platinum. That was the year that most of the world got introduced to him, even though he had been going for a long time before that. To him, Do or Die, Crucial Conflict, some of those artists. And then from 96 to 98, we had some of the biggest albums of all time in this genre. Even Lauryn Hill, for example, Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, Aaliyah, all these people who got introduced or who their influence came created from starts peeking out here and there. So as a quiet kid, we're getting all of these sounds from everywhere, and I'm just like soaking it up. And I started making music, and at that time, 96, 97, 98, 99, you know, you had you went from the grimy street guys to the flashy loan chains and all of that. So we was real aggressive. We was real competitive.
Right.
Battle rap became like a thing.
Yeah.
And it's morphed to something different. It has its own fan base. But back then, you had to rap on whatever beat got thrown at you.
The infamous grinding beat.
Yeah, and so
Lunch table.
yeah, even as all of that was becoming a thing as I got into high school, all of that it was just a melting pot of sounds and energy from everywhere. We was listening to people from everywhere.
Gotcha.
And so then all of a sudden I get to college, and then something called social media comes out. So we had this pathway of, all right, you get you a CD burner, and you the man. Burn you CDs, you get them pressed up, you really the man. Then you get you some T-shirts, you sell you some shirts, get you some posters, some flyers, everybody show up with your shirt. That was the blueprint then. And all of a sudden, none of it mattered. All of a sudden, start over. Now it's about likes, views, follows, shares, and then it's like, again, most people my age, they quit by now, because it's like I just got cool enough to be popular in that era, and then it completely changed. So now, coming back to answer your question, now it's like I'm just accepting where we at. We good. We starting over now. They starting to check us out from everywhere.
Time for
You're now tuned into Ether on the speaker.
You mentioned social media and how things used to be back in the day, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's not many artists that I speak with, you know, that are in their 30s somewhere that are on what was the word you used?
I just look at it as an upward trajectory.
That's what I was saying.
I look at all of our numbers, all of our listenerships, all of our viewerships are increasing. For me, the reason why I say it's almost cool enough is I finally got to a point where I don't have to take this so seriously. Like, I took this very serious for a long time because I breathed this. You know, like I said, I that was 5 days a week, and then on the weekends we was making mixtapes. So I breathed this. I worked for it. I did all of the local shows. I opened up for everybody. I was in all of the, magazines. What we didn't have was an outlet. What we didn't have was infrastructure for the corporations, and we didn't have somebody who was willing to come in and say, all right, well, let's develop all of these cats. So what happened here, and what's still happening here, is every year or every couple of years, there's one sound, and one person works with that, and then everybody tries to emulate that one sound. Where I think Chicago, unlike mostly anywhere I can think of, our biggest strength and our biggest weakness is that we don't have one sound. I think Chicago is if you listen to our celebrities, we were talking about off camera, If you listen to the people who've won Grammys from here, the rappers, if you listen to Lupe Fiasco versus a Common versus a Kanye West versus a Twista, they're completely different artists and completely different sound. They don't have a one sound. But I think we get put in a box and it's like, all right, everybody got to go that way.
Well, I think even when you mention boxes, man, like I think there's boxes everywhere.
Absolutely.
I think there's boxes in Chicago. I think there are boxes in New York. I think there are boxes definitely in Atlanta. There are boxes in Florida. There are boxes in Texas.
Absolutely.
Because in Texas, it's, you got Houston music, you got Dallas.
Yeah.
You have these different places. Even California.
Absolutely.
It's still a sound. So I think that it's a box everywhere. But what I think is super cool is that you found a way to not taking it as personal, like you mentioned, because I'm not gonna lie, I used to take it personal too, because you are trying to. Your music. What did Erykah Badu say? She's like, I'm sensitive about my shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
As a musician, as an artist, you're typically sensitive about your stuff, right?
Absolutely.
And then you have to sit up there and get to a point where you put in so much work, because what you are seeing is that in this day and age, a lot of the new artists, they don't want to put in the work, because social media has given this people called this thing instant gratification.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, if I get this many likes, or like we were talking about followers, buying followers and different things of that nature, you can pay for perception, but then you are also like, everybody kind of pays for perception, especially when it comes to marketing and stuff like that, right? Like from artwork to the album or project rollouts through the whole nine, right?
And to me, that's the point, is that I finally got cool with the perception being my real life. There's no story I can tell you better than what actually happened to me. There's no story I can create. There's no image I could create better than telling you, yo, this literally just happened to me yesterday. Well, I think other people, as again, they buy the perception. I'm gonna take the selfie next to the celebrity, make it look like I know the celebrity. I'm gonna pay for the feature to get the celebrity on my song to make it look like I'm more popular than I am, when really he just emailed it to my engineer and we never met.
It's really an ego thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like we were talking about that off camera as well. Like a lot of artists, it's an ego thing, because you try so hard and you do want to be accepted. Yeah. What I've learned is that a lot of times, even with just people in general, you try to impress people that really don't care about you. And really don't matter, right? That you end up missing the people that actually do rock with you.
I think for me, the reason why I come to the conclusion of Almost Cool Enough is, the reason why I don't take it personal is, I have very rarely pressed play and somebody was like, it's all right. I very rarely have situations where people haven't gone out their way and hit me with the worst compliment ever. I get a series of Eldorado Jones. Shout out to Eldorado Jones.
Shout out to that guy.
He's coining a phrase called a displiment. I constantly get displiments, which let me know I don't need someone else's validation. Here's the best displiment of all time is, oh, that's you? Or, oh, it's a real video. Or, how come I haven't heard of you already? Or, what are you doing to get this out? Everyone should hear this. These are all where somebody's reaction is like a state of shock, because they can't believe I'm standing next to them. And to me, that's all the validation I need.
To me, that's probably cooler than anything else.
Absolutely.
Like, I think
that's cooler than all of the other situations.
When people, the look on people's face, they're like, oh,
they give you this
shit. Like, whoa, damn, this you?
Yeah.
Huh.
So I was telling you a story earlier, how that happened yesterday. I went to my uncle had a birthday party. I went and showed up. One of my cousins is like, hey, man, you just dropped the album. I want to hear it. And so he goes up to the DJ like, hey, he needs to play this song. Tell him play one of your songs. So I plug up my phone and he plays some music. But we don't go announcing like, hey, guys, this is his song. This is playing it. And the best compliment ever was nobody noticed that it changed from a playlist that the DJ was playing to they listened to about 12 of my songs straight. And the reason why I say that that's a great compliment is because we're in a 35, 40 and older club where they don't do rap. They don't do rap. They're playing Step in the Name of the Love or something like that. And that's still kind of new school depending on who you are.
Yeah.
And no one for 1 second stopped and said, what is he playing? Or what are we listening to? People got up and started dancing. And then somebody finally said, hey, you know that's him, by the way. And then people are like, what? That's you? I thought we was just listening to some regular music. And I said, you were.
But that's sometimes the best way to play your music.
Absolutely.
Though. Like when you kind of come off first, like, hey, it's me. I think it's kind of like people are critiquing a little harder.
Absolutely.
Because when people look at they are like, because, you know what? And I hear this a lot. Well, I haven't heard this a lot, but this is what I see what a lot of people do. People find shit not to like.
Absolutely.
I'm the kind of person, like we were talking about last week, as far as like by me being an artist, and then I'm interviewing artists and things of that nature.
Absolutely.
I look for what I like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not looking to listen to artists or check out artists to find things that I don't like.
Right.
Because I don't know not one person on this earth that everybody likes.
No. Of
I
course not.
did. Shit, Jesus was crucified. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Absolutely.
like,
Shout out to Jesus.
Shout out to
It's
Jesus,
Sunday.
man. Sunday. Second Sunday. Today, because this interview will be out later on this month, but today Kanye is in town, Chicago, and
Yes,
he's
sir.
doing Sunday service, right?
Absolutely.
Now, for a while, Ye has been on people's shit list here and there, right?
Yes.
Ye is one of my favorite people. I never even met the guy before, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what I will say is that we were talking about separating the artist from separating the artist.
From the heart, yeah.
You know what I mean? Separating, what the artist does compared to, what their real life is looking like.
Yeah.
So you have, Kanye with his political views.
Yeah.
He was looked at crazy because of his political views. Had nothing to do with his music, but his political views. We know Kanye based on his music, his brand. R. Kelly. We know R. Kelly based on his music because that's what he put out.
Mm-hmm.
But then when it came to the other stuff, people are looking at him like as the person.
Yeah.
My thing is like, I don't feel like everyone has a microscope on them. I think if everyone had a microscope on their lives, I think they would be a lot less likely to judge.
Yeah. I think that speaks to what, like, again, Dave Chappelle's comedy special, he talks
Super
about
awesome,
it.
super
Where he was like, I'm gonna do an impression, and he makes fun of the audience. I think that, here's what I think in terms of that. I think he said it in that special, and I think everybody needs to understand it. If you're working this hard to get in public life, you ask for the microscope. If you spend all of this time and money and energy, you're begging for the microscope. Now, is it fair? Absolutely not. But any of us have to have a certain amount of understanding that when the cameras and the lights are finally focused on us, when we finally do get the views, plays, awards that we were coveting and seeking, we're gonna get every single troll that comes along with that comment section. We're gonna get every single meme, and so to me, that's why I took a step back and said, that isn't even what I care about. Like, I don't really care about being as famous as whoever says I need to be. I care about.
Yeah, what do you care about? Like, what's most important to you as an artist?
Yeah.
Because I think every artist has an agenda,
Yeah,
right?
I think
Like-
for me, like, authenticity is important.
Okay.
But I don't want to skip over with your first question, which was about this, or comment about separating the art from the artist.
Yeah.
When I introduce myself 9 out of 10 times as Eric, because the way I check my ego is if you don't walk in the room and go, oh shit, that's Sycosis, then I'm not important enough for me to keep being Sycosis 24 hours a day in my own head. I know how good Sycosis is, and I know how good his artwork is.
Mm-hmm.
But I need to be Eric, because Eric is very important in my life. Eric plays a role
Eric is who you were born as.
that Sycosis can never do.
Right.
And for me, that's where I start the separation
Mm-hmm.
of the art from the artist. I did it with myself. So there's not a part of my life I can hold. The fact I've worked for the Sheriff's Department of Cook County and I work in Division 9 right now is a big part of my music. It's joining the art to the artist. So I can't expect for people to separate it just because I can. Now, I'm gonna watch this interview 10 years from now and be like, this is some bullshit. They ain't got nothing to do with who I am. But as of right now, I know that things I say in a song can be used against me. Also,
how does that make you feel? Since you asked for the microscope, how does that make you feel?
It makes me feel like I have to be mindful of knowing that tool that I'm using. I'm not mindful of knowing that bear that I'm poking. So if I know that everything I say can be used against me, I'm going to at least try, to my current knowledge, to only say things I wouldn't mind defending. To only say things that I wouldn't mind standing on or falling by. If that's going to be my downfall, I'm cool with that. It ain't going to be me making a one-off line about slipping some Molly in her drink and she didn't even know it. I mean, even though it was just a line, maybe, you got to realize that at this point that's
I actually like that. I actually like that song.
I like the song too, and I don't think the average person who listens to rap or even listen to Rick Ross thought twice about it.
No one did until they made it a big deal.
But I think though we have to remember that the people with the microscope aren't going to be fans. They aren't going to be people who even listen to a single word. They're going to print out my words on the transcript. No beat, no bass line. Like, man, I went way harder than that. And they're going to go.
They're going to dissect. They're going to dissect. They're going to look for the problem.
And I say that in Born Day, which is the last song on the record. Gave you my life story. I told you from my perspective. You know, I invited you to dissect it. I'm understanding that if this keeps going, one day, everything I ever said will be put under review, including this conversation. And am I going to feel happy about that? Absolutely not. But I know that that's how it's going to
Why wouldn't you feel happy about
it? Because somebody's going to say, Aaliyah was actually in 01, he said 99, he don't know shit about rap. It gets that deep. And it's like, man, he's just talking off the cuff. It might be a whole page of people dedicated to pinpointing a mistake I said in the timeline. I know that it's going to be that level of crazy if I finally get there. So to me personally...
When you get there?
Yeah, to me personally, I'm already there.
Gotcha.
Because that is not the goal. The goal is not to be a celebrity. The goal is to push the bar. If I'm underground, if I'm the lowest of the low, and I'm going this hard and I'm this good, then the goal is to make everybody else this low be this good. So that the new top gets raised. As I come up, there will be nobody who can say, man, dude just came out of nowhere. They were like, man, this dude actually got better through this whole time. And I was here. The big thing for me, the biggest blessing for me that doesn't feel like a blessing, but on some old man perspective of life shit, is had I been famous, I wouldn't have been able to have everyday conversations with people that I feel like, and I know impacted them greatly, including the guys in that jail that I'm with every day. The shit I said to them wouldn't have been a daily thing. It may have been one time, see y'all for 5 minutes and leave. But I know I'm with them every day. So at this point, I look at it as a blessing. I'm almost cool enough that I'm impacting people who don't have a reason just to like me off GP.
That's right.
Because when you're a celebrity, everybody likes you just off GP.
Yeah, because they want something most of the time, right?
Exactly.
So you mentioned, I know that you work in the jails and things of that nature, right? And I follow you on social media. We follow each other, right?
Exactly.
So that's how we do. So I noticed that your pops he just came home, right?
Absolutely.
And
shout out Pops.
Shout out to Pops, man. I wanted to meet him last
Shout out
week,
to
man.
your Pops too.
Shout out to my Pops. He got that.
It's dope. Yeah, it's dope, man.
So I want to touch on this, man, because one, the song Kites on your album, we're going to touch on that in a second, but the fact that you work in jails and then you're 35 now, your dad was gone 30 years up here, so he's been gone since you were 5 years old. Pretty much. 4 or 5.
4, 5.
So you pretty much did like,
between.
Yeah, so what do you like, because I know we probably have a 2-hour conversation, but in your own words, that we can just kind of, like, growing up, like, as a man, right? And the things that you've dealt with and the man that you are today, you know, like, what was you and your father's relationship like? Because, you know, Kites, you know, y'all in communication, you know what I mean? Like, how did that impact you? How did it impact him? And then even fast forward, where are you all now?
So the important thing I think for me to say about my pops is he didn't do 30 years straight.
He didn't do 30 years.
No, not straight.
Okay.
He did 6 and then 8 and then all the way up to 10 years. So he had 4 different prison sentences.
Sheesh, man.
30 years straight probably would have been easier for me anyway to deal with because I would have had, a start date, end date. This is over with at the end of this day.
But it was so many start dates and
4
end dates.
different times of this happening was much heavier.
Mm-hmm.
It caused a lot of stress, depression, post-traumatic stress, and it caused a lot of anxiety. But it's also a huge factor in why I started writing.
Right.
Because the word kites, the first time I heard it was when he said it.
Mm.
Because a prison kite was totally different than what I'm talking about.
Right.
But he was in prisons in the boom of the prison industrial complex being created. He was there in the 80s when America decided we were going to lock up as many black men as possible and say it's gang or drug related. So I learned a lot about that in history because I was there. It's not a course I studied in school. It's not, I was there and watched.
Experience.
Yeah, and watched how it happened and watched the cycle not only for himself, but for so many people. Guys he was in this joint with in 87, now he's seen this guy again in this joint in 93, and I watched it happen, not just to him, but to us. But we were in communication because, and I say this too, I look at this, hindsight's 2020, right? Had he been right home next to me, he probably would have never said half the stuff he said to me in letters. He would have probably said 90% of the stuff he wrote to me or that we said in the visiting room. And if he did, I probably wouldn't have paid that much attention. I'm like, all right, boss, well, I'm gonna go outside. Can we talk about this later? But because he wasn't there, I read all of those letters a dozen times. I listened to every word for every conversation because I knew it was about to be taken away as soon as the guard comes back around and say your visit's over. So his experience became my experience, obviously. His writing became my development because those same cousins on the west side, Skeet told me, if you want to become a better MC, read the dictionary.
Yep.
Well, I'm reading the dictionary also while reading Pop's letters because he never talked to me like a little kid.
So
He talked to me always like
an
a
adult.
grown man and a rogue scholar, not just an adult. You're going to learn what transcendent means at 6. You're going to learn, what all of these different words and phrases. He never once wrote me a childish letter. Never once. So that developed who I am now. And our relationship now is at a place where it's coming full circle because statistics say it's more than likely he'll go back. Statistics say it's more than likely that this is not the last one, that there will be a number 5.
That's crazy, man.
And I don't look at him right now and say, oh, no, of course that would happen. What I look at it now and I say is now I understand why all of this happened. And now I can take that experience and I can share it with people to help them and me. Because now it puts some perspective in all of the tears and things I went through. So that's how that song came about. It wasn't specifically about him because now I myself am in jail every day, ironically. Which if you told me that, I would never believe you. It's not what I asked. I was working with kids in another department. The budget got taken away, so now I'm there. But anyway, that song was me summing up 30 years of my life in 4 minutes of a song.
It was, it's crazy. You asked me this morning or earlier, like, what was my favorite song on the album? And I said Bruita, but I'm like, Kites is still that. Because, like, I think when I heard, like, the beat didn't even drop crazy or anything like that, right? It was you, I heard it. There was, like, an emotion, like, I saw it. You know what I'm saying? And I think that was what was super cool to me about, that was probably, I might have to put that one over Brujita. I'm not gonna lie, man. Like, just, as an artist and being able to express yourself in a certain way, because men is kind of like, it's almost looked down upon, or sensitive almost if we speak about certain things, man. So you have 7 songs on Almost Cool Enough. One feature, Eldorado Jones.
Absolutely,
Cool
Eldorado.
dude,
Shout out to Eldorado. Great in itself entertainment. GTS was good.
Super cool dude. So what was your favorite song off of there?
Well, let me go back and explain why I only have 7 songs.
Okay.
And why I don't call it an EP.
Okay.
Ironically, was maybe a year ago when Kanye and All Good Music did the 7-song projects, and I was one of the first people like, "Oh, this is trash." I wanted Pusha T's album to be longer. I wanted some of these projects to be longer. But what I found out was, it wasn't because of them that I did it. What I found out was, what we were talking about earlier, we all pay for the validation some way or another. I'm my own metrics person. We have to, as an independent artist, you're everything. When you're really independent, you're everything. So I'm also the person going through all of the pages, looking at all of the numbers, looking at all of the plays and views, and the analytics is what you call it.
Yep.
You're looking at all the analytics, and the analytics told me that most people really like Mostly Me Too, which was 13 songs. But what it also told me is most people listen to about 8 songs.
Attention span.
Yeah, attention span, time in the car. More like your distance from point A to point B is how long you listen. And on average, the average person listened to about 25 minutes worth of music.
Sure.
So I said, I'm gonna make 25 minutes worth of music and see what happens. And what happened is people going, man, it's not long enough. I need more songs. I need more music.
But you did exactly
I want the demand went up.
That's what the way it's supposed to be.
Every part of business is supply and demand. So it was like, actually it's 24 minutes. So it's 1 minute less than what the average person listened to on the last project. But on the last project, you was like, oh, I got time to listen to these other 5 songs. But now you know it's not 5 more songs coming.
It's only 7.
But to answer your question, I can't name a favorite. I can tell you songs that mean a lot to me for different reasons. Mm-hmm. The song that meant most to me was probably Born Day.
Okay, the last one.
Yeah, because I literally wrote that morning.
Uh-huh.
That was the most pressure I've ever put on myself to make a song, because I didn't want to make it. I was like, I got other songs, I'll just work on this one later. I was tired, I was sleepy, I was hungry, and I almost stopped. And that was the push. Mm-hmm. And then I also didn't punch in on that record. I recorded it front to back, which is not something you do nowadays in 2019. And I did probably 50 takes straight through. With that level of intensity. So I did like a whole workout.
Well, it sounded like, really just a mental thing. Like,
Yeah,
I think that you mentally wanted to kind of test yourself.
I did.
You wanted to test yourself as far as time, energy. You probably even tested yourself even on a budget.
No, it was all the above. So I had it, like, I did it right the first time. Mm-hmm. But it didn't feel the way I wanted it to feel. Like, it didn't have the pain and the aggression in it, and also the there's a little bit of hopelessness in this song too. Mm-hmm. And then a lot of my music, even while I go by the name Sycosis, is because I intentionally try to take you through several emotions, sometimes in the same song. And that song is a little bit of hopeless. Why I say at the beginning, it's likely you'll never hit it. The numbers say I shouldn't even be here, that nobody is going to listen to this. The older I get, the less like. However, the last thing is I'm going to make it. And then there's parts where I'm like, I already made it. And I'm going through all of this. And so that song meant the most to me for the message. But songs like Kites, that one would be one of my favorites because I broke all my own rules in that song. One of my friends, we just had this conversation the other day. He's like, I don't like this song. And that song it's not polarizing. Most people are like, I really love this record because they know me. And they know about my pops. But he didn't like it. And I laughed and I was like, I know. And I was like, you know why you don't like it? I said, because I rapped off beat. And I said, in some lines, I took 2 or 3 lines before I made the next rhyming word. And you've been listening to me rap since I was 18 years old, and you've never once heard me do that. And that's exactly why I did it. And he was like, you're right. And I was like...
It didn't mess you up, though, because it's almost like when people don't see your vision, it's almost like it doesn't mess you up because you don't need people to validate you anymore. You're cool with the person that you see in the mirror, right?
Absolutely.
All right. So what I want to do, I want to kind of just get to a conclusion here. So, what's next for Sycosis?
Well, what I'm looking to do right now, we've been doing a lot of branching out. Chicago is getting to know me. And luckily for me, we have technology that's easy enough for you to go back and hear my whole catalog in one day. So I no longer feel the pressure to keep telling people here who I am. They'll catch up. What's happening right now is that countries around the world are picking up. So I have 10,000 listeners a day in Moscow, Russia.
Dope.
So my goal is to do an international tour soon, get around the world, and also get my music around the world. I do a lot of music licensing, so I get my songs in TV shows and movies and video games.
We're gonna do a separate interview with that. Man.
YouTube channel.
I definitely want to like rap about that because I know.
So I do a lot of that to expand my fan base while the local entities may or may not catch up.
Well, they go. Well, that's how I go, man. Like you're typically gonna be cool enough in other places before you're cool enough at home.
Yeah,
so you're almost cool enough. Man.
Shout out Russia, shout out Germany, shout out Sweden. They rocking with me heavy. So I'm almost cool enough to be popular where I'm actually from. We'll see.
Nah, you cool, man. Where can everyone find you on social media?
Everything is at Sycosis. That's SYCOSIS. You can get me on every digital streaming platform, of course, Apple Music, Spotify, Pandora. I even made sure I put it on SoundCloud and YouTube for you to make it easier for you. But all the social media is at Sycosis. Follow me or not, but listen to the music.
You'll follow him, man. We definitely appreciate you coming on the show, man.
Salute, man.
For real. Y'all be cool.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.